going on, digital world out there, the Facebook lands, wherever else we're at the moment? Welcome to another episode of the WebBuzz podcast, where you can get all the buzz about the web. And today we're talking about a pretty fun topic, and I couldn't do it without the Google Nader himself, the man who basically writes the algorithm, in my opinion. Roger, how's it going?
It's going good, man. It's going good. Like I said before the show, man, I'm gonna have to just hashtag all these names that you make up for me, that we can get it out there. Hopefully, we can get some momentum. But no, feeling good, man. Feeling really good. Really excited for today's podcast. I think we got some good trends that we want to talk about that are super important for people. But overall, it's a good day, man. Sun's out. Chickens are kind of full effect over here in Guam, man. So we're doing good.
Well, the sun is actually out here as well. I am sorry if you're tuning in from somewhere across this country where the sun is not shining. Don't hate on the two of us. Just move to a better area. That's what I say to that. But anyway, with that being said, we got a phenomenal show for you guys here today. As you know, the WebBuzz podcast, we're all about bringing you the buzz that's going on the web. And this one is a big one. This is something that I know, Roger, you and I talk about this a lot, but we've never actually talked about it in this kind of structure where we're like really talking to the points of each side of these. And what we're talking about, folks, is this duo of search intent versus user intent, and why 2021 and beyond, this has got to be a big focus for you, your brand, your digital presence, and whatnot. So get us kicked off here and get us started, Roger, on some of the pieces from more of the search intent, because I think that's the bigger element. The user intent, we'll dive into some of it, but the search intent, we got to please that side before the users even see anything.
Right. So that's a really good point, and that's why I really wanted to hopefully kind of break this down. And Shawn, we kind of understand. We always kind of joke around with our clients that on your side, you talk to the humans, I talk to the robots, right? It's like, and what that means, guys, that's basically not that way. I'm talking to robots directly or anything like that. It's just the information, the data, right? That's out there, what's going on, the trends, things that Google is doing, and what everybody, the SEO professionals, the marketing, digital marketing space is doing. So we're always analyzing, we're always testing, and that's what we talk about. That's what we're talking about when I say I speak to the robot, because we're always looking at what the trends are on the data side. Now, it's great to have a website and an online presence that's really geared towards what the robot wants to see, what Google wants to see. But the problem with that is that if you don't take that next step to then optimize for user intent, meaning the actual human, then someone will land on there and it'll just sound very bland, right? You didn't kind of go as far as optimizing it to relate to a human. So that's where a lot of people then start dropping in conversions. So we're going to talk about that a little more. Shawn's actually going to get a little deeper on the actual user intent. But on this first part, I want to kick it off with the foundational pieces, right? Because it always, before you can actually get a human to look at it, you got to get Google to like it and actually rank you well. So with that said, I do want to kick it off with user or search intent is becoming extremely important. It is not a new trend. If you go back and do a little bit of research on your own, you'll find a lot of content out there around search intent, how important it's getting. Well, the reason for that, because you're going to continue to see that. Every year, every agency that's taking this serious will have some kind of article, some kind of information telling you how much more the needle has moved with Google's basically algorithm and Google's AI, their artificial intelligence when it comes to Googlebot, right? When they actually understand. So every year they're just getting better and better at understanding who you are, what you do, and what you offer based on what you're putting on your website. So those are the things that are getting super important. It's no longer just stuffing your website with a bunch of keywords or getting a little bit of intent in there. Now it really matters. Some of the things that might kind of come into play as well when it comes to the actual content you're creating. And we've had an actual podcast in the past where we talk about an acronym called EAT. And that stands for expertise, authority, and trust, right? and that gears towards the person that's actually creating the content. So that's huge, because when you create a piece of content, or there's a website that just has a lot of content on there, there's always an about us page, or whatever it might be, where it's talking about who owns this website, or what's the group that's owning this website and providing this content. Well, that's where the EAT acronym comes into play very heavily, because Google wants to know, wow, this is good information, but who's writing it? Right? They want to make sure that the people that are producing this content are actually experts in the space and know what they're talking about, and not putting out their bad information. Now, this EAT acronym does kind of flow, can be a little loose in some industries and a little more intense in others. For example, if it's just, let's talk real estate. We have a lot of real estate type clients in our agency. So if you were, giving some advice about, how to rehab a house, or, how to rehab a bathroom in particular, right? You probably got some information from a contractor, maybe did an interview. That's fine. Where it gets very intense, if we're talking about your money directly, or your life, right? Maybe you're giving financial advice, something about investing and how the returns. You better have some kind of credentials behind that, or else that piece of content, even though no matter how good it is, if you don't have good EAT, basically factors behind that, it won't rank as well. The person that actually has a certification, has it on the website, and Google can actually validate that, will probably rank higher than you. Same thing with the medical side. If you're in the medical space, and you're putting out information, like there's a lot of, obviously, there's a lot of hospitals and things like that put out a lot of information. Well, a lot of those articles and journals and things like that are being written by doctors directly. But if I went out there and wrote an article about a medical topic that's potentially giving advice on some kind of virus or something, I'm probably not going to do very well, even though I probably did a really good job. It does have a lot to do with that. So some of the things that you have to look at is the type of, that who's writing that content. And then number two would be what type of keywords you're actually adding to that piece of content. So in order to really dive deep and kind of tell Google exactly where you should rank, or what you're trying to rank for that piece of content, is actually doing a little bit of work and finding out what those keywords are. What is Google actually currently awarding, meaning currently allowing to rank on those top 3 positions, or even page 1, right? What are those articles? So what you should go do is really first make a list of what the keywords are that you think people would actually search on Google to find this stuff, and then go do a search yourself. And what you got to do is create a spreadsheet and make a list of all these articles that are on that page 1. Read them, right? Make sure you understand the information that's on there, because that's basically what the Google artificial intelligence, or AI, is looking at and awarding. So that's where you start getting your ideas of what kind of keywords you should do. So that's the manual side. Agencies like us, we do this for a living, right? So we have some tools, some data tools that will mine all this data for us. And if, for example, we have clients that do this for us, because you can do it yourself. Obviously, you can go out there and definitely do it yourself. It takes a little bit of work, but if you had the time, I definitely encourage you. But if you didn't, there's agencies out there that will do this stuff for you and help make sure that we kind of hit those EAT factors, and that we get the right keywords and optimize for the intent of that keyword, so you actually rank properly on there. So, Shawn, I'll kind of stop a little bit, because there's a lot to digest just in those couple minutes of that explanation.
No, and this is you started to go down it earlier, and this is a little different than what search intent may have meant a few years ago. And you were talking about keyword stuffing, right? Back in the day, it was just instead of making a list and trying to figure out what's Google awarding, it was more, how many of these words that I think, or I know that my audience is typing in to Google, can I get into that to get it to show up, right? And that I think is the big point here, is there's a big shift in when we talk search intent. It's more, what is the user searching, right? What is it's they're no longer searching words, they're searching full sentences, full statements, right?
Correct.
And really thinking from that level, and not just a keyword and how many times can I use it in my content piece on my site, this type of stuff. Anything else on the search intent side. I don't want to. I know we want to shift, but I don't want to shift you too soon.
Yeah, no. I think one of the things that, or the final thing I think that we should kind of really kind of drive home when it comes to the search intent is how you outline your content, right? So the keywords, Shawn just kind of said it. I mentioned it a little bit. Back in the days, you could just stuff keywords. They don't have to necessarily make sense. You just sprinkle them all over the place. Now it makes sense to actually outline your content. You have a list of keywords and properly outline. You literally have to step back and put yourself as the user. If you were to read this, does this make sense? In the past, it didn't matter. In the past, you just kind of got the most popular keywords, put them in there, and then create some content around there, some body, and sprinkle a couple more keywords, right? Now, the new Google AI, as it gets better on understanding what you do, who you are, what product you offer, what service you offer, it's very smart for someone now to structure their content, be very intentional, and step back and read it as a user. Make sure that all right, I get it. This flows very nicely. Google's starting to kind of look at that as well. Does it make sense?
Yeah, and that kind of shifts it over a little bit here. That user intent side, and I know we were doing some brainstorming and some thought process around this. And one thing that I saw out there, just kind of when I was thinking deeper into this, to really be focused on the user, the business, right? Whether it's a brand, product, brand, service, doesn't matter. The business needs to get away from focusing solely on them and what they do and what makes them so great, right? At the end of the day, you're trying to please really two factors here. What Roger's been talking about on the search side of things, right? That intent, trying to please the algorithm, give Google what they want to put it up there. Roger does a phenomenal job. Matter of fact, you can even explain it right here of like, why do we want to please Google? Who is Google really trying to serve at the end of the day? That whole piece. But that's one arm of this. The other arm of this user intent is you want to make sure that when somebody actually gets on your content, on your site, somewhere in your control of assets, that they're getting value, that they're getting information that helps them. So if everything that I've put out there is just, oh, TRC is amazing, TRC is so great, Shawn and Roger are the best, we've got the best process, this is all about us, here's what the company's done, here's where the company's grown, blah, 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 self-stroke. Is my user, in our case, other small businesses looking to figure out how to show up better online, are they really getting anything out of that? Are they going to be drawn to want to come back to get more information from it? So I'm going to stop right there for a second and kind of kick it back to you, let you kind of explain that other piece, because we do got to please the user, and I want to talk a little deeper on this side, but we're also, through user intent, we're also still pleasing the search intent at the same time.
Yeah, and it's a tricky kind of middle ground, right? Because sometimes you cannot do both at the same time. So those are some of the strategies. And it just depends on your industry and just depends on the keywords you're going after. So it's not always the case, but we do run into this case quite a bit where it's what's the goal? What's the main goal? If it's a brand new website, for example, if it's a brand new website, our goal is just to get that awareness out there, right? We want to make sure that Google, number one, knows we exist. So secondary is the user intent, right? When it's a new company, just because we want to get that company out there. So we might go a little more heavy on the side of keywords, how we're structuring, obviously keeping that in mind, how Google wants the content. But once we start getting momentum and we start showing up, if you guys remember earlier, I said, hey, you can optimize for a robot all day, but if it's not optimized for a human, then you will get the traffic, but you won't get the conversions. So there is a strategy that we use where we actually go heavy on the robot side, right? Heavy on the keywords and make sure that we follow kind of Google's guidelines, but we do focus on that. We make that our priority. Once the website starts gaining momentum and going up in the rankings, then we kind of get with Shawn and we kind of start going into the human factors, right? It's like, all right, Shawn, we kind of nailed the factors that Google wants. We're starting to see some momentum. Let's get into the user intent. What kind of value can we give the user? Let's reread this content. Can we make any changes? Can we kind of produce something a little better of value when someone reads through this so we can get better conversions? So that's when we start kind of going to work on the user intent side. So there is kind of the point here is sometimes you cannot solve both of the user and search intent at the same time. You have to make a choice which one is best for you at that point. A good example of maybe where it's a good idea to actually do user intent is if you're already an existing website or existing company and you've been around for a long time, you have natural organic people searching for your brand online, right? Just because you've been around for 10 years or whatnot. In that case, maybe you want to focus on the user intent because you already have the traffic, right? And then later, maybe we can, as we go through that process, we can then put some strategies with the search intent as well to get more traffic. But if I already have traffic to work with, our team focuses on user intent so we can continue to build or strengthen up that traffic, because that traffic will then reflect more traffic because they start talking about you. The reach starts going further. And that's why it just depends on what your situation is, and will depend what strategy you should use.
It's funny as you say this, I was sitting here thinking that same exact strategy, right? This whole, you can't focus on user and search simultaneously. At the end of the day, which one's more important? Well, that comes down to where are you at in your business. If you've got really good traction, you got an audience, you got some stuff coming at you, right? You're already generating some business. Well, okay, you might be able to put more of the focus on the user base side of it. But if you're brand new out of the gate, nobody really knows what's going on, nobody knows who you are, kind of new to this game, I need traffic. So I can't be so wrapped up in the user side of things. And as you were saying that, and I started to kind of draw this correlation, that works whether we're talking websites, whether we're talking social media, whether we're talking emails, video, it doesn't matter what the outlet is, right? You've got to take a look internally and say, which side of this coin does my business fall on right now? And attack that one. Then when I get that side to a certain level, I can shift. And I think that's a big, I don't want to say it's like a overly looked area, but I think it's more of a confusion point for a lot of small businesses out there. They just they want both simultaneously, and we can't, right? We can't have the search focus and user focus, because you and I battle this all the time. I want to change something. I want a different word in there than what it says. And Roger's always pushing back on, no, I need that word or that phrase, because I've got to get this thing showing up in that space first. Once we're in that space, then we can have fun with some of the language around it, or we can have fun with the way we communicate some of those aspects on it. Now, on the user intent side of the house, there are a couple things that I want you guys to think about on there. Even if you're focusing on, let's say, the search side first, I really want you to think of the content that is being created for your site, no matter where it falls, pillar page, service page, blog article, doesn't matter. It's really ammunition. It's ammunition. Roger says this all the time. You prime your people up for your competition when you lack it on your own site, because they are going to go search it and they are going to go find it somewhere else. Most likely it's going to be your competition because they've done their job. All of this, you want to please the user, think of it as ammunition. You, the individual behind the business, your product, your service is just the weapon that's being used to take down, right? To go after. And a weapon is only as strong as the ammunition that you can put inside of it. If I got 20 rounds, I'm only as good as 20 rounds. If I got 2,000 rounds, I can play the game a little longer, right? So to please the search intent, the search algorithm, we've got to put some content out there that's really highly structured. Well, at the same time, I want that content out there to please my users, my prospects, the individuals who are going to go search for it, or that I have now as ammunition to throw in front of them. So to Roger's point, it's not just focus the search side and just stuff it like we used to. It's really thinking about, what does that layout look like? What does that kind of outline look like? How are we going to put the information out there to please the algorithm, to earn the space, to earn the trust of Google and search engines so that we can get eyeballs on it? But it's still, and there is a way to do it and still have it be a valuable resource. It may not do all the work, right? It may not be the fully focused completely just on the user intent of it, but it can be a resource at the same piece. And that comes in when we start focusing on the user side of things. We're really paying attention to stuff like the copy, right? And I do at some point, Roger, I think you and I, we need to do an episode on the difference between content and copy, because there's a big difference between the way each of those are written, right? Content is more what you guys do with our clients to get them up and get them in the game, as you call it all the time. Copy is more that persuasive, right? Next step, get them to convert, get them to move over. How does the words and the imagery and the different things on the page do that? User intent, we want to focus more on the copy that focuses on our searcher, the one that we're answering their question. Again, I go back to stop talking all the platitudes about you and your business and who you guys are. Focus on how do you help the individual, because that's all they care about. And that's all they're looking for. And if they don't find it on yours, they're going somewhere else for it. Another one that I'll throw out here is don't make people work too hard. And what do I mean by that? Yes, the job of our website and our content is to eventually convert, move that individual through the journey, right? The customer journey, and get them into what we call the subscribe stage, get them actually, in lack of better terms, I guess, in bed with us, right? Get them doing business with us at some point. Well, how do we get them there? We get control of things that we can then direct market with, emails, phone numbers, names, this type of stuff. The content that we want to put out, the job of it is to get them to that point. However, Roger said it. I love the way that you actually put that out there. Like, figure out what's the big focus, what's the purpose right now. Because if the purpose is just to get the search side nailed down and show up in the game, then don't be gating everything. Don't make it so difficult for somebody to get their hands on something where everything is, oh, I need your email. Oh, I need your email. Oh, you need to call me. Oh, you can't see this page. Oh, you got to click here, 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 and here to finally get there, because you're going to piss them off. And they are not gonna, want to hang around, right? It's like the annoying person at the park. We don't want to play with that person. They're annoying. Well, don't be the annoying business for that. So anything you want to add there?
No, you kind of hit a lot of important pieces there that hit on the technical side as well, right? It's like just on the website itself, if you can nail down the content, make a decision what direction you're going, right? Are we going search intent, user intent? Doesn't matter. Depends on your strategy and your company. But if you can nail that down, you're more than halfway there. But you can really damage that with what Shawn just said, with gating a bunch of stuff. Meaning, what we mean by gating, if you don't know what that is, making people opt into too many things to get the value, right? So it's backwards. It's actually, you need to get a lot of value, and then they get the extra piece of it, like the bonus, right? It should be a bonus, not the actual value. The value is what's going to get them there and keep them there. But there should always be a bonus, and that's where you start asking for an email. But you see a lot of these websites that you get on there, and the first thing that you see is a pop-up. It's like, I don't know who you are, right? I don't know who you are. I clicked on the link because I like, my question, my keyword that I typed into Google was, I have a question. I want to learn about this. And then you just happened to, you got me in, right? You got me in. You got me to click on your link. But I get there, and the first thing I see, not the content, not the value, but a pop-up. And that is the worst thing right now that we're seeing. It used to be very popular. Don't get me wrong. That's something that in the marketing space, that's basically what it was, right? Higher conversions and stuff. But now, as we get, even the user, not even Google's AI, that's great. That's going to continue to get smarter, but the user's getting smarter. There's more people getting online interacting, using social media. There's all kinds of stuff. So those numbers continue to go up, which means the IQ of the normal user is much higher now than it was a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So they know what's up now, right? They come to a website like, forget that. I'm not going to put my email just to read this. I'm going to go to the next guy.
There's one that's coming to mind right now. I'm not going to say it, but very common website in the research space. You're trying to write a research paper, just do a bunch of research on a topic. It always comes up, and it's the one reason I haven't opted into their service is because I can't even see a snippet of what I'm doing, what I'm looking for, without this stupid box flying in my face the second I land on their page, wanting not just my email, wanting my credit card, wanting me to buy a membership to get access to it. It's like, no thanks. I'll go somewhere else. Right.
Yeah, that's some private information there. Yeah, that's a good way to kill your momentum.
Yes. So yeah, even if it's a known brand out there, right, it still can irritate people. So imagine if they have no idea who you are. They've never heard your company, never known about you, and the first thing you smack them with is, stop, give me your phone number. Stop, give me your email. Chances are you're not going to see much traffic coming to your site for very, very long. So anything you want to wrap us up with before we close her out?
Sure. One thing that I want to move, we talked a lot about content, the user intent, the search intent, how to optimize or what to look for, some strategies. But one thing I want to leave you guys with is it's not always on the website either. It's not the only platform where your user's at. So it's one thing to also understand who your audience is and where they're consuming their information. So it can be a podcast, it could be a YouTube video, it could be social media, it can be so many things. And when you kind of nail that down where all your audience is, then you can follow some of these things that we talked about at the beginning of this podcast with the content, because it's all the same. It's like what the user intent is, what the search intent is, and then you can go from there. But hopefully this information that we shared with you today was valuable, and you can go back and don't think you have to create new content. You can always go back to your old content and refresh. That's actually one of the best strategies you can do. So you don't have to go and, I got to spend more money for more content. Go check out what you have. Optimize that. You might increase your traffic just by doing that one action item.
It's another episode that we need to do, is how to refresh and clean up and re-optimize. Maybe jot a note down so that when we're trying to decide on topics for the week,
absolutely,
we can look back at that one. But for everybody else tuning in, whether you're tuning in live today or watching this later, if you've been struggling to generate traffic on your website and you want to figure out what are the quick 7 steps that, whether you would be one of our clients or not, that we would actually, let's say you were, the 7 steps that we would take you right through to get you up and running and get things moving, go check out our free little mini series. It's a complete video, step-by-step process, all 7 steps to getting you generating more traffic online and turning your website, as I say all the time, turning your website into more than just a thing online. Turn it into something that's actually a resource for you in your business, a tool that you can use. Go to topresultsconsulting.com/7 steps, topresultsconsulting.com/7 steps. That thing is jam-packed with a bunch of different videos, bunch of resources, how-to guides, worksheets, the whole 9 yards. You can literally follow it, steps 1 through 7. And I promise, if you do what Roger and I broke down in that series, you will see some new traffic showing up at your doorstep, ready for you to do some business with. So any parting words, my man, Mr. Googlenator?
Just get out there and do some business, take some action, do something. Whatever you do, it's one more step towards getting in front of your competition. So get out there and do something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that being said, folks, thanks for tuning in. Those that were on live, thanks for watching later on. If you ever want to talk about anything, need some help with things on your digital marketing and online presence, don't hesitate. Hit us up over at topresultsconsulting.com. Roger and I would absolutely love to jump on a call, see how we could possibly help you start showing up in front of your ideal audience more frequently. Till next week on Wednesday, 4 p.m. Pacific time here at the WebBuzz podcast. We'll talk to you guys later. And as always, here's to your success.